We're back. I'm Gale Brewer, Manhattan Borough President, and I'm so delighted to welcome Elena Conte, who's the Policy Director at the Pratt Center for Community Development. We love Pratt. And she's here to talk with us about land use and zoning processes. So, Elena, thank you so much. So I guess my big question is comprehensive land use planning. How could we get the Charter Revision Commission to consider it? And do you think it's a good idea, or am I crazy about that idea? Because I am crazy about it, I'll tell you.
No, I think it's a fabulous idea, and I really applaud your leadership on it, Madam Borough President. And I think there's a couple of things that we aim for with it, right? So it's cohesive, coherent, transparent, and inclusive. Those are goals that we would want in our planning system, and that right now our system's not accomplishing that. So let me attempt to kind of demystify a couple parts of what we think are part of this framework. That are important to accomplishing those goals, because why do we care about a comp plan? Because we want to overcome inequality, right? We want that fair and just city. So it's a tool for that. So the first part of it is actually stating that really clearly, right? So having a clear statement of goals that we're aiming for that, and naming racial and economic justice as part of it, and naming other important goals like environmental and the climate change realities that we are dealing with. We need to be pointing at that if we're going to accomplish those, right? The second piece is that we need a collective way to get to what are our needs, right? So a process that includes folks to look at the citywide needs and also includes the neighborhood needs and brings those pieces together in a needs assessment. With that, we can set neighborhood-wide goals, right, that help us advance the priorities that communities have, right, and also identify the ways that every neighborhood is going to be contributing to these important citywide goals. Now, the piece that is absolutely critical, and you just talked about it in the other segment, is the budget alignment, right? Because although this is lovely language, sounds nice, documents, plans, but it's got to be tied with the dollars, right, both on the capital side and to the extent feasible, right, on the programmatic side. That's what makes it have meaning for folks. And ultimately, the last piece is that we've got to measure and report back so that we can see how we're doing, right? We set the goals, are we meeting the goals? And in the event that we're not, we can then course correct and innovate policy solutions to make ourselves a more equal city.
Great, Elena. So, Gale, you were the head of land use for many years at the City Council. You're the perfect person to be trying to lead this, but it is a bit of a fractured system. What would you suggest, or what do you think is being discussed in terms of this really complicated issue?
What I heard in all 5 boroughs throughout the city was people asking for government to present the idea of where they thought New York and their community would be in the future, and that they wanted to have a role in having a meaningful impact on that picture. Mm-hmm. The staff has come back and has done a lot of work on this topic, and they've come back and said, we have all of these plans, and this was a fear that was expressed in the expert testimony. We have all of these plans that no one ever looks at. Mm-hmm. They get done every 2 years or every 4 years or every 10 years, and they go in a drawer somewhere in offices around the city, and no one uses them as a real planning tool, or very few people do. And they certainly don't inform the other plans. So when you have your 10-year financial plan and your 10-year capital plan, it is not necessarily being informed by the sustainability plan that is required every 4 years, I believe. So what the staff has proposed is that we take a look at all of those plans we already do and require, and figure out how to sequence them so that they are, in fact, informing towards these bigger plans, and invite the public to be a part of it.
So does it fall under the pre-planning? Would this help with our pre-planning notion?
Well, I think it would, in terms of communities having input into goals and what this plan looks like, which I hope could also take into account some aspects of fair share and where growth might occur, should occur. But we're also considering, the staff recommended to consider some kind of pre-planning time period before a uniform land use review application, which are for big zoning and planning changes, such as a neighborhood rezoning, before that occurs. And we've always, and I know in the borough president's office, where I've worked the last 5 years, that's always been an issue for big actions, because people feel like once it's certified into ULURP, it's 90% baked. And they're just the community boards, the borough president, are just sort of tinkering around the edges. This might give people an upfront opportunity to weigh in on what the application should look like before city planning sends it out for review.
Elena, Conte, thank you so much. We love Pratt. We appreciate your being here, and we'll be right back with our next guest.